and we'll be able to tell you when to leave the room.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Oh,
It's super straightforward.
The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are
do I turn
located
off mic
on the
3?
unceded traditional territories of the
Okay.
Coast Salish Nation of Musqueam,
Yeah,
Squamish,
okay,
and
thank you.
Tsleil-Waututh.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gabriella Rui, and here are your news headlines for 11 o'clock. For the Red Dress Day, a local First Nation society spreads awareness of the missing Aboriginals from BC at the Hayak Square. Jonah Jung reports on what the organizer suggests for the police to prevent the crimes targeting the First Nation women.
Every year, about 4,000 Indigenous women go missing, according to the Canadian government. The government also says 63% of them have experienced domestic violence in their lifetime. Ruth Weller, the organizer of the event, says there needs to be more efforts from the police to keep the Indigenous women safe.
Well, one of the things that happens all the time is that the police, the municipalities aren't really aware of the women, aren't really aware of what happens. A lot of the women may even not be one of those that are, visual, right? And I think patrolling maybe more, looking for them in different areas.
Weller says citizens should be aware of not only women, but also men and children who went missing. Jonah Jung, BCIT News.
Our field reporter Jonah Jung joins us now to elaborate on additional details of the event. Jonah, what did the organizers offer to the people at the event?
Hello. So the organizers offered various activities such as beads making and face painting and rock painting in order to raise awareness and at the same time generate curiosity and promote involvement for the visitors who were present at the location.
And what was their priority?
Their priority was to raise awareness for the missing women in Vancouver, especially the women who have been missing since 2001 and 2012, and at the same time educate people on the violent attacks and crimes that are perpetrated against the First Nations women.
Thank you so much for your answers, Jonah. They've given us a great insight on the event's importance. The country of Ukraine is still under a lot of pressure and experiencing grief from the war with Russia. Reporter Bahar Garyan speaks with the co-founder of a foundation that helps mothers who have lost their children and family members on the front line.
The Maple Hope Foundation is raising money for the mothers in Ukraine who need immediate psychological and financial resources. They are mothers who have lost their children amidst the Russian attacks. The foundation aims to help those who are grieving to speak out about how they are dealing with this emotional burden. As Svetlana Kominko describes how the grieving process of mothers needs attention in Ukraine.
It's important that they have a safe space where they can talk about that, where they can process their grief. Because unprocessed grief lead to even more horrible consequences.
This Mother's Day, the Maple Hope Foundation aims to spread awareness and provide more help to mothers in the process of grieving. As Kominko says, the isolation needs to be replaced with therapy and resources to get through some of the pain experienced during the war. Bahar Garian, BCIT News.
Our reporter Bahar joins us now in the studio to give us more details on the Maple Hope Foundation. So Bahar, what is it that the Maple Hope Foundation does to raise money for mothers in Ukraine who have lost their children?
So currently the Maple Hope Foundation has a goal to raise $1 million for the war between Russia and Ukraine and mothers suffering from the loss of their children in Ukraine. And they're actually importing scarves, like silk scarves, from Ukraine producers, and they're bringing them into Canada and selling them so that the money can go back to the Ukrainian people and mothers.
And what is the effect of women who don't get proper treatment and care during the grieving process?
So according to the co-founder, Svetlana of Maple Hope Foundation, she says that there's been science-backed research that says that women who are grieving and isolate don't get enough treatment for the suffering that they're going through, which can result in actual physical ailments like cancer and terminal illnesses that just don't have a cure. So those treatments shouldn't go untreated.
Thank you so much for your answers, Bahar. They've given us a great insight on the Foundation's importance. Moving on to other local news, last April 30th at approximately 10 p.m., Surrey Police Service responded to a missing person report involving 25-year-old Navdeep Dhaliwal. He was last seen at a residence in Surrey. He maintained regular contact with friends and family, but after a brief period without contact, his relatives grew suspicious and contacted the police. Not a lot of information has been released regarding this report, but the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team was deployed and has since assumed responsibility for the investigation. Moving on to provincial news, BC Premier David Eby says he doesn't know how America would be able to implement a 100% tariff on films produced outside the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump announced the plan on social media yesterday. Eby says they'll support the industry no matter what happens.
First of all, to the folks in the film industry, don't panic. The president tweets a lot of stuff. The implementation challenges of this are profound and hard to understand exactly how this would work. The industry is strong and growing in British Columbia.
BC has emerged as a top destination for film and TV production, but the industry also faces growing competition from California and other jurisdictions that want to lure production through tax incentives. BC has issued a second call for power to acquire up to 5,000 gigawatt hours per year of energy from clean and renewable projects. Premier David Eby says the move is part of a larger plan that will help reduce dependence on power from the U.S.
The president of the U.S. has been active again, threatening Canadian sovereignty, casting shadows and doubts on the election of our Prime Minister Carney, threatening major industries, including our film industry, ludicrous suggestions all, and yet he continues.
Last year, the province issued a similar call for power, which the government says resulted in the approval of 10 new renewable energy projects capable of powering about 500,000 new homes. In national news, Alberta's Chief Medical Officer of Health says 3 people are currently in hospital receiving intensive care after contracting measles. Dr. Sunil Sukram says there have been no deaths, but the province has confirmed more than 200 cases of the disease over the past 2 months. He says the situation is not considered out of control, but it is concerning.
Up until now, we thought the disease had been eradicated, but things have changed. Measles is now circulating in several areas in our province, and it's quite concerning.
Health Minister Adriana LaGrange says the majority of cases have been seen in those who aren't vaccinated, which is why the province is launching a new advertising campaign later this month to encourage Albertans to get vaccinated. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is asking the Prime Minister to help build a tunnel under Highway 401 in Toronto. Reporter Jason White has more on the story.
Prime Minister Mark Carney asked the premiers in March to bring forward what he called nation-building projects. Ontario Premier Doug Ford's response includes the Ring of Fire critical mineral deposits and increased nuclear power generation. But the premier's letter also argues that building the Highway 401 tunnel would reduce Toronto's congestion, therefore improving economic competitiveness. Carney's office did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but Ontario's opposition leaders are scoffing at the idea. Jason White, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump hopes to restore Alcatraz as a federal prison again, more than 60 years after the California Island Fortress was shut down as it was too costly. Reporter Alex Stone has more.
For decades, school children have taken field trips alongside tourist Alcatraz to see a crumbling prison with a storied history that closed in 1963 because of the extreme cost. The building's falling victim to age, run by the National Park Service now, Reopening it could be in the billions of dollars, and staffing the island and getting adequate running water and waste out to it would be a feat. ABC News contributor Elizabeth Newman served in the first Trump administration and says it's a good headline, but
he has a lot of ideas. People will go off and study them, then they'll come back with the facts, and usually it gets dropped at that stage.
Alex Stone, ABC News.
And those are your news headlines for 11 o'clock. I'm Gabriella Rui, and you're listening to BCIT News.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon, I'm Jenny Sung, and these are your 340 sports headlines. 3 out of the 5 Canadian teams this year advanced to the second round of the NHL playoffs, and the Edmonton Oilers are in Sin City tomorrow to face off against the Vegas Golden Knights. Puck drop is at 6:30. The Winnipeg Jets advanced to the next round after last night's win 4-3 in double overtime against the St. Louis Blues, and Cole Perfetti speaks about it post-game.
So proud to be a part of it. It's this is a special group, and tonight's a good picture of what this group is like and how there's no quitting here. And even when it's looking hard times for us, it's we battle through, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
The Toronto Maple Leafs have already secured their spot last week for round 2, and they're set to face off against the Florida Panthers tonight at 6:30. Maple Leafs captain Austin Matthews says the team is ready to face the defending Cup champions.
Leading into this, just feel like we're a prepared group. We're ready to go, and we know that the challenge that lies ahead, and it's just taking it one step at a time.
The NHL Draft Lottery is happening tonight, and we'll find out which team is getting the overall number 1 pick. So the San Jose Sharks are at the top of the list, sitting at over 25% chance to get the first pick overall, while the Chicago Blackhawks have the second highest odds, which would mark the second straight year the team would be awarded the first overall selection. The Vancouver Canucks are likely to get 15th pick this year. It was announced that Sidney Crosby will be joining Team Canada at the 2025 Men's World Hockey Championships. This will be Crosby's 3rd time representing Team Canada, and Marc-Andre Fleury confirmed today at a press conference that he will be joining Crosby on Team Canada. The World Championships will be held May 9th to the 25th in Denmark and Sweden. The Ottawa Charge clinched a playoff spot and are heading to the PWHL playoffs this year for the first time in history. Katerina Mrazova helps send her team to the playoffs with her overtime winning goal.
Short, she scores! Katerina Mrazova, a historic goal for the Ottawa Charge, and for the first time in franchise history, the Charge are going to the playoffs.
The Montreal Victoire have chosen the Ottawa Charge as the first-round opponent and meet for the first time in Quebec this Thursday at 7 p.m. Last month in April, the World Juniors sexual assault trial started and is still ongoing, but a mistrial led to a temporary pause in the case. All former junior hockey players, Alex Formenton, Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, and Callan Foote have all pleaded not guilty to the charges of the alleged incident that happened back in 2018. Michael McLeod additionally pleaded not guilty to another charge of being a party to the offense of the sexual assault. A new jury was picked after the mistrial, and the former hockey players will be back on the stand in court Monday. And in just now, the Baltimore Ravens released a statement on their social media that Justin Tucker is being released from the team today after 13 seasons, following allegations of inappropriate behavior with over 15 massage therapists. The NFL is still investigating, and the allegations are under review. The Vancouver Whitecaps are crushing through a 4-game win streak in the CONCACAF Champions Cup games. The Whitecaps will be playing Cruz Azul in the Cup final on June 1st in Mexico City. Vancouver looks to become the first team in the tournament's single-match history to win away from home, and winning the winning team of the CONCACAF Champions Cup will move to the 2025 FIFA Intercontinental Cup, who will then qualify for the 2029 FIFA World Cup. MLB right-handers Spencer Turnbull and Jose Urena of the Toronto Blue Jays just signed a 1-year MLB contract. The Blue Jays are currently 3rd in the American League East and are set to play against the LA Angels tomorrow evening at 6:38 Pacific Standard Time. The Canucks' X account seems to have been compromised this afternoon, leading to multiple posts promoting cryptocurrency. The Canucks have since then posted a statement regarding the
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.